As a leader, you have complete control over your culture. Good or bad, it truly is your responsibility. It truly is up to you to create a positive influence for the people on your team. In this next video from a recent keynote in Las Vegas, I discuss how leaders can create clarity, alignment, and purpose that drives more impact and more fulfillment.
Would you agree that as a leader, if you just boil it down to two things, everybody in this room is responsible? We've talked about it for a little bit, but everybody's responsible for results. You agree with that? And on the flip side of that, all of us in one way, shape, or form still have to work with people to get those results. Do you agree with that? Right? And so how do we look at the people equation to figure out how can we make sure that we're working with people and building those strong working relationships and driving that engagement, which we'll get into, that will help us drive the what? Results that we're asked to drive. Where is the bus going? Are you clear, and are your people clear? Because what happens when people aren't clear where the bus is going? What happens when people aren't clear on goals and expectations? What could happen? Chaos. What else? A brain fog. What else? They make up their own, and probably those answers are nowhere near where we're trying to create. And so as leaders, it's our job to make sure, number one, we're clear, and number two, our people are clear on where the bus is going. Because what we find, not saying here, don't take offense, what we find when we work in organizations all across the globe is that there are people that are working, they're working hard, but they're on all four sides of the bus. And some are pushing this way, and some are pushing this way, and some are pushing this way, and the bus isn't what? Isn't moving anywhere. We find that people sometimes work together, but they're not truly working together. So they work together, but are they truly aligned and working together to make sure that we're all in lockstep driving the results that we're asked to drive? That comes down to trust. That comes down to respect. That comes down to rapport. I'm not even saying we have to be friends. I'm not suggesting we shouldn't be friends. Don't take it that way. All I'm saying is, am I building trust? Am I building respect? Am I building rapport? If I have that, it's easier. Nothing's easy in your world. It's easier to work together. Agree? If we have those things. So what am I doing to look at building those things and driving stronger working relationships? To me, it's like an emotional bank account, right? I have to, and I'm talking, again, authentic and sincere, not manufactured BS type of stuff, but I have to really be authentic about putting in deposits, because there are times where I know I'm going to have to make a withdrawal in a working relationship. There are just times, as a leader, I'm going to have to make a withdrawal. But when I make a withdrawal, I want to make sure I'm not what? Overdrawn. And I'm working in the red, right? And so what am I doing to make sure that that anchor point when it comes to culture, that I'm building stronger relationships? Number two is engagement. That's one of the key words of today. Here's how we find engagement, driving opportunity mindset, not obligation mindset. Opportunity mindset says I get to. Obligation mindset says I have to. Big difference in showing up and putting people in roles and giving them responsibilities where their mindset is I get to versus I have to. And we'll double click on that in just a minute. Now, I'm not saying, again, I'm not Disney World, Cloud 9, 100% of the stuff. There's a 20% suck factor in any job that you have. But how am I setting myself and my team up for opportunity mindset, not obligation mindset? Because I approach things differently when I get to versus I have to. Okay, so what am I doing? And then fulfillment. The last thing is how am I making sure, again, authentically and sincerely, that everybody, no matter what they do, I'm a firm believer that everybody in the organization adds value. I don't care if you're sitting at the top, or I don't care if you're, wherever you're at in the org chart, you all add value. But the challenge is does everybody understand the value that they have and the impact that they have? And if not, what am I doing as a leader to make sure that's showing up on a conscious level? Because we forget about those things. Remember, 47% of our day is unconscious. We're in Vegas, so I'll put a bet. I bet that, think about when you purchase something new, a car or whatever, 6 months of driving that car in and out every single day. And it might have been your dream car. It's no longer that neat because you're in it every single day. It's like when we moved to Jefferson City, Missouri. We moved first to St. Louis, then we moved to Jefferson City, Missouri from Hermosa. I have a 14-year-old, Brian, and he started playing organized soccer at 4 years old. And there's nothing organized about 4-year-old soccer, if you've ever watched it. It's just a bunch of 4-year-olds, and they're just doing this, right? And sometimes the ball would pop out, and hell, they wouldn't even know it. They'd just still do this. But again, I'm a student of people, and I'm always studying people. Again, not for judgment or criticism. I'm just observation. Like, why the heck do they do those things? So there was one boy. There was one, and it was co-ed at the time. There was one boy that would kind of stand back with, and I called it a herd. It's kind of a herd, just the 4-year-olds doing that. Just would stand back impatiently, just kind of watch where the ball went. And that was the only time a goal was scored, because the ball would pop out. The whole group, including my son Brian, wouldn't realize it. This little boy would go get the ball, run down the field, or kick it down the field, and score a goal. No goalies at 4 years old, so the net was wide open. Did that 4 times. It was 4-0. That was the game. So I asked him, I took that family out, we went to lunch afterwards, and I asked the boys, I go, boys, what in the hell is going on in that herd of 4-year-olds? Well, 4-year-olds are really honest, so my son, Brian, goes, Dad, it is scary in there. He said, there is a lot of kicking going on. And then Ross, the other boy, said, yeah, and one little girl was punching. So then I asked Ross, the boy who scored the 4 goals, I said, Ross, why did you take a step outside? He said something that was profound to me. He said, when I was in the herd, he was calling it a herd because I was calling it a herd, he said, I didn't have a good view of the ball. And my dad told me, Josh, who's a buddy of mine, he said, my dad told me that I needed to go score goals, so I needed to know where the ball was. I thought that was pretty insightful for a 4-year-old. As I look at organizations, and again, don't take offense, I'm not here to make you mad. Don't you feel like sometimes it's this? Right? And every once in a while, we got to get it out and get a different perspective to make sure we're focused and doing the things that we need to make sure we're doing that allow us to move in the right direction. And that goes back to understanding how we drive impact and how we drive value. I mean, take a look at this beautiful hotel. The people that clean the restrooms, change the light bulbs, has just as much impact as whoever's sitting at the top. If you come into this hotel and half the light bulbs are out, does it change the brand? If you're in the lobby and the restrooms are dirty, does it change the brand? Yeah. I'm just not convinced that those people cleaning the restrooms understand the impact and the value that they have on the brand of Caesar's Palace. So how are we making sure that we're authentically driving value and impact in our people, and they understand the impact, where that drives engagement and drives that opportunity mindset as we go? Those are the questions. How are we doing that? Let's double click on it a little bit. So if you look at strong working relationships, how are we leveraging talent in that trust, respect, and rapport? How many hours in a day? Not a trick question. How many hours? 24. Perfect. How many hours do you have in a day? 24. If you're thinking 24, you're already self-inflicting a wound. Let me explain. I have 500 hours a day to operate. I have 50 people that travel the globe and do all this type of stuff in my organization. On average, we work about 10 hours a day. That's 500 hours that I have to maximize. Am I maximizing them? How many hours do you have? And are you maximizing it? Are you maximizing the hours that you have, or are you thinking in 24? Now, I'm not saying I maximize 500 hours a day. I'm not trying to be I'm just saying that's how many hours I have in my organization. And am I leveraging that time? Or am I trying to spin all the plates myself in the 10 hours or 12 hours or how much hours I spend on a daily basis? How many hours do you have? That's the question. And then what are you doing with those hours to make sure you're maximizing those hours? Some of you in here have a shit ton of hours. Pardon my language. You have a lot of hours. What are you doing to maximize it? How are you helping them grow? How are you driving stronger relationships? How are you creating that? Somebody mentioned out there, sharing the information. How are you creating that shared experience? What I mean by a shared experience, when a shared experience shows up in your piece of the puzzle, 3 things are present. 1, people feel that they have the right information. They feel informed. Because if they don't have the right information, they will make up their own information. Number 2, they feel like they have a voice. It doesn't mean that you're going to take all their suggestions. It just means that they feel as if they're being what? Heard. And the third thing is you live in the consequences together. Consequences good or consequences bad. You're living in those things together.
In this next video, I go deeper into this topic around people and culture, specifically on why your good people are quitting.